Welcome to the late night,
The late night,
the laid back
9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time show.
Late night show. It's dressed for the podcast you want, and it's ooh,
And it's smooth
it's
jazz.
smooth like a butter on your microphone.
It's like a late radio edition.
And then
Yes.
you go, ew, yuck, there's butter on my microphone. Except it's not for our guest.
It is definitely not a late night podcast for our guests.
And maybe it's not
You
when you're
don't
listening
know.
to
I
it.
could have been up this entire time.
That's true. It could
Yeah.
have. It could be late for you, but it also could not be late for whoever is listening to it. They could be listening to this at 4 p.m.
That's true.
How is it? It's the future where you are.
It is. It's a Monday.
Does that joke make? Yeah, we're recording at 9 p.m. on Sunday, and our guest is at 1 p.m. on Monday. Does that joke happen a lot or not enough for you?
Not enough.
What's the future like?
It's apparently going to be 102 degrees.
Which would be great because it's been really biting cold
It's
here.
not, but wouldn't that be wild?
Everybody would be terribly sick.
We would just fall down.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. This is Dress for the Podcast You Want. My name is David.
And my name is still Megan.
And still Megan.
Still Megan.
This is not moving Megan. This is still Megan.
Yeah.
Hey,
Hey.
still.
Stay still and calm down.
And our guest on the other side of the world is Alice Qin.
Woo!
Hi, Alice. How are
Hooray.
you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
It is surreal to talk to you.
There's so much serotonin coursing through my veins right now.
Yeah.
Just hearing your voice.
It is okay. When I first met you guys, it was 2015, and the whole time I was like, this is it. This is going to be a friendship that's going to be in my life all day, every day. For the rest of my life.
And then what happened?
And then I decided to move the furthest away from you as I possibly could.
We do that a lot to people. It's understandable.
we make them move away from us?
Yeah.
You told me all of our friends died.
Oh, I did say that, huh?
No, they're all in Melbourne with me. As well.
Oh my God. Why am I just now finding this out? That's funny. I like that. Yeah, you're in Melbourne.
Melbourne, yes.
You're in
Very
Melbourne.
good, very good. Mm-hmm.
And that is where you are from?
That's well, that's where I grew up. I was born in China,
Great.
in a little town called Changshu, which is like an hour drive away from Shanghai.
Mm-hmm.
And then I moved to Melbourne when I was about 8 years old.
Mm.
And then I moved to New York when I was 23, I want to say.
Wow.
And then I moved back in 2015 and have been here for the last 5 years.
You said you were born in China and then you moved to Australia. And I love when people use that phrase about when they're 8 years old and they move to a place. And it's like, well, you didn't move to a place, right? You were moved to Australia.
Absolutely. Yes.
That's fair. You were planted there.
I had no idea what was going on.
What inspired the move?
My mum moved. She went to Australia by herself when I was 4, and so for 4 years it was just me and my dad in China, waiting for my mum to get her permanent residence so that she could bring us both over.
Wow.
And the move was basically just like regular immigrant, better life type deal.
Mm-hmm.
She was a performer. She played in one of those Chinese instruments that sounds like, I don't know, like it's called the pipa, and it
does sound like the I don't know. I'm glad you were trying to come up with what the pipa sounds like.
It's kind of like a guitar, but like crisper. It's not as like there's not as much resonance. I don't know. So because she was doing a lot of like traveling and performing on that, but then she couldn't really see a future for herself in China. Yeah. So then she moved by herself, and then when I was plopped in Australia, it was like my whole universe kind of shrunk because I didn't speak the language, and all of a sudden I went from being friends with everyone to no one. And also, like in China, I could run around the streets with all the neighborhood kids, like the urchin that I am. And then when I went to Australia, first of all, no friends, but also kids didn't run around in that way much anymore, you know?
Whoa. Oh, you're saying in Australia they didn't run around without supervision.
Well, it was starting to not happen as often because,
Sure,
like,
sure.
you're like, yeah, that's when the panic was happening of like stranger danger and all of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Man.
But we got ahead of ourselves. I got to stop doing that. I got to stop letting us get ahead of ourselves. We have a very strict schedule
Sure. Yes.
that
Absolutely.
we must adhere
Yes, that's what we
to.
prepped Alice with. It's super strict. So, like, buckle down, get ready.
That's what we tell everybody at the beginning.
I will
This is a
only
really
answer
serious-
questions. Yes.
Okay. The first question I would like you to answer is, do you consider yourself a successful person?
Yeah.
I like that you answered my question with a question.
I am in the affirmative, but not nearly as confident as Dale. Because I listened to both of her episodes, and that lady, she is sure of herself, and she is who I aspire to be in terms of success.
Yeah,
So
I hear you. I hear you.
yeah. Like, no, when I got the email about this episode, which sidebar, I was reached out to by your assistant, which is a super boss move for someone who I haven't actually talked to for a number of years. I get an email from your assistant, so I'm like, okay. But on that day,
he also emailed my grandfather, and my grandfather hasn't responded yet because I think he assumes that it's a spam.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Well, and so I was like, okay. But on that day, I got a couple of other emails about job offers. So I was feeling particularly successful that day. So I was like,
Wow.
yes, I can do this.
I will do this now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it seemed like since you had gone back to Australia, you certainly were not not to say that you were here either, but you were definitely not like twiddling your thumbs. It seemed like up until, the world went through its
I want to call it the Big Shush.
the Big Shush.
The Big Shush. I love that. Yeah.
When the world went through the Big Shush, you were certainly not like sitting and twiddling your thumbs. You were definitely kept busy. You're a busy lady.
Yes. To a point where I was having a bit of a breakdown because I was doing way too much and not giving myself enough break. So and then everyone had a break. So
honestly, I felt that way as well right before it happened. I definitely there were, it is the Big Shush was terrible. It is terrible currently still. There were definitely silver linings in it mentally sometimes about I have some time to think about the things, and I think we all did. I think that's why a lot of the things that happened with the Big Shush happened, because people had time to sit and go, here are some things that I think should change.
Yeah.
Whether that was on a personal level or a societal level or whatever.
Yeah, definitely.
But on the day that you got our email, you were feeling particularly successful.
Yes, I was. I was like, "Ooh, am I wanted? Am I a notable member of the industry?" Also, halfway through last year, I was asked to be on the judging panel for the indie theater sector of our theater awards.
Wow.
So yeah, I was like, "Ooh, so fancy." Can watch all the shows for free now. That was the part that I was the most excited about.
Yeah.
And also, funnily enough, I haven't actually done that much indie theater. I've worked mainly in the main stage sector, so I was like, I don't know if I count, if you guys count me as part of the community, but sure, I will judge you.
Wow.
Yeah. No, well, I haven't actually done that much main stage acting. I've been asked to assistant direct a lot.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, which is great. Yeah, so and I do a lot of developments as an actor. In terms of actual shows, I am still Chinese, and so the casting limitations.
Boo.
Yeah, right. So yucky.
I was gonna say in Australia too, and then I thought about it and I was like, oh yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's better or worse in Australia, because the industry is much smaller. So the problem is magnified, but the attitude is about the same. I don't know. It's just as bad everywhere, really.
Well, and obviously, these landscapes, especially theatrically, but all over professionally, are being examined and altered right now in the US, right? Massively.
Yes.
We're undergoing
Yes.
just massive daily, weekly, monthly shifts in the culture.
And these are shifts. I don't know if they would have happened without the assistance of the big
Shush,
silence.
for sure.
The big shush.
The big shush is different from the big silence.
Sorry. The big shush.
But that I'm assuming that sort of like isn't happening or hasn't happening or like is on the verge of happening in Australia, or like what's the scene?
It's hard for me to be objective just because I get asked to speak on diversity panels a lot. So I'm talking about it directly a lot.
Sure.
And I did a directing initiative with a theatre company here, the Melbourne Theatre Company, and it was part of the CARP, which is Contemporary Asian Australian Performance. That's like a group, and they started the initiative where they got emerging Asian directors and paired them with the state theatres of each state. And but obviously each state theatre company, they have their own culture and the way they deal with diversity. And it revealed a lot of things about that short. Oh God, should I be talking shit about the company that's about to employ me?
You don't have to name them. You can say Groovy Space Cats Theatre Company.
The Groovy State the State Theatre Company of Melbourne, which is there's only one. And like the way that it definitely felt like we were tokens that they plastered all over their website to be like, look at these 4 Asian emerging directors that we've hired, and they did nothing with us. Absolutely nothing. They, we got opening night tickets to every show, but that's not a thing.
Right.
So but from that I got my first assistant directing gig with them with their Chinese show, because I was the Chinese Mandarin speaking participant. But at the same time, this show that they were doing, I was the only Mandarin speaking participant who understood China in the whole creative team. And so I actually had to do a lot more than what an assistant director normally would have to, because 5 of the cast members were Chinese Australians, and 2 of them spoke mainly Chinese.
Okay.
So you're doing.
So you were doing like 3 people's jobs rather than one person's job.
Assistant directing, cultural competency. Sounds
and
like some
also,
translation sometimes.
Doing some translating of the rewrites, and then proofreading the final print edition. Keeping track of all the scripts. Yeah, it was a lot. And then like running lines with for the entirely Mandarin. There are a couple of scenes that are entirely in Mandarin, so I had to like fully run those scenes basically.
Did the theater, anybody like outside of the show, know that that's what you were doing? That's what you ended up having to do?
No, of course not. No.
Yeah.
Look, I don't think people from MTC would be listening to this, so I'm just gonna say it. One of their, I guess she would be just one of the board members. She is like one of the owners of the theatre company. I saw her quite frequently throughout the rehearsal process. And then on opening night, I couldn't attend. I had something else on. And there was one of our associate designers. Her name is Kat Chan. She was there. And Virginia, the lady who, is like the co-CEO, she goes up to Kat Chan and said, "Well done. Congratulations, Alice. I loved your work."
Oh my God.
What if MTC does listen to this now?
Well, it's a fact. So
it is a fact.
Yeah.
It is a fact.
Don't do that if you don't want to be called out. Yeah.
Alice is presenting a fact. I am saying that's shitty.
Yep.
Hosted on dimlywit.com.